I was there. I don't have to listen to it.
This week's show because it was a disaster.
When you live in a beach resort, it's easy to forget whether you are playing or working. On each week's show, we settle in with a cocktail and try to figure out if there is a difference. This is Day Drinking on Delmarva.
And I am Todd from GoodCleanFunLife.com.
And I'm Tony Russo, no relation, and you're listening to Day Drinking on Delmarva, a show about life and culture on the Delmarva Peninsula.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah, Todd drinks because he gets to live here. I drink because I have to live here. And never so much more than today. And I say that every day. So it's kind of my mantra.
It's consistent.
Absolutely. So much to get to today. Lots of fun stuff. I have a new word. I would love to do a word of the week segment, but I don't have that kind of energy. But I learned a brand new word, and I'm going to inflict it upon you or offer it to you as something you can inflict upon other people. And in addition to that, we have our one cool thing. We have our picture book memory times and so much more. But before we get started, we'd like to thank our sponsors. Our sponsors are the drinks that we've been drinking, as well as a local business and or semi-author type person who
self-employed person who needs more work.
Barely self-employed, barely working. And that week that's me. I don't know if you could tell. So, and first of all, I'm being sponsored by Bubbly Sparkling.
Is it Bublé? No, Michael Bublé.
Bubly seltzer and white rum, which is something I wouldn't have tried if I felt like making a martini, or if we had regular seltzer in the house. I don't like flavored seltzer, and I don't like flavored seltzer with gin for sure. But I did see that there was a little bit of white rum left, so I added some white rum to this raspberry seltzer, and it's really refreshing. If you know, it's summertime, so you're going to find yourself with white rum in your house more likely than not, and this is a good way to polish it off if you don't want to spend 45 minutes making a pina colada or whatever. Like rum drinks there's rum and Coke, and then there's like surgery rum, where
it's labor intensive.
It's a labor intensive drink, which is funny because, for most of history, people were just drinking straight rum with like water, like just to make the pain of being alive in the 1400s go away.
Right.
And so I'm sorry. So what are you drinking, Todd?
And I'm back on the high noon train. Again, it's a great summertime.
You're trying to drink 1,000 this summer or something like that, right? With 3,300. What? How many are you trying to drink?
It's like over 350, and I don't know. I'm probably at 25. I don't know.
Hope springs eternal. I say go for it. As a gout sufferer, I can't drink. I can't drink competitively. I can only drink until all the pain goes away. I have to keep drinking till the pain in my head goes away, but not so much that the pain in my foot materializes. That's the balance that I try to strike.
Life is about balance.
Yes, life is all about balance. I'm writing that down. That's the title of the show.
Yep.
So, and we're also sponsored by me, Tony Russo. I am a writer, and I have a podcast and I don't have a podcast. I have a what's it called? A newsletter. It's called the Bagel Manifesto, and each week I write about what's going on or some things that I've written about. I usually take one high concept and try to break it down a little bit, something that kind of goes against, what you would tend to believe. Sorry for the message. Sorry for the binging. I forgot to turn my phone down. I wanted to mention that because this week I've decided that I'm going to be closing down the Bagel Manifesto podcast temporarily until I can, until I have a reorganization in my head, but I don't have the time or effort to reorganize it before I go away for 3 weeks in 2 weeks. So we're going to close it down. We're going to be back in the fall. But the Bagel Manifesto podcast, the Bagel Manifesto newsletter will continue throughout the summer. And people like it. It's growing slowly but surely. And I'd like for you to listen to that. I also wanted to bring up a book called How to Be Perfect, which may or may not be very popular. Have you heard of it?
I've not heard of it.
Okay, it was that level of popular that I thought maybe you had heard of it because I hadn't heard of it. But it's from the maker of a show called The Good Place.
Okay.
Are you familiar
Yep.
with the show?
I'm familiar with the show. Kristen
Right.
Bell, I believe. Yes.
Right. And so
Darcy Carden. Yep.
the idea behind The Good Place, it starts off with, Jean Sartre's No Exit, which is you're in this place and you're it's essentially the afterlife, and you can be happy if you can just get along with the people in the room, but you fucking hate the people in the room.
Right.
And it's where we get the phrase "hell is other people" is from that. But they've put out a philosophy book, and I'm going to recommend it, even though I've not read it yet, because I read the table of contents and it looks fun. And
Okay.
we're going to get the audio book and listen to it as we cross the country, so we can have these, conversations about ethics and aesthetics and things like that. And it's like a philosophy 101 course for grown-ups.
Yeah.
It looks like it's a lot of fun. Just the titles and a couple of the excerpts I've read looks like something that makes philosophy accessible to people who haven't studied it at length.
Yes.
And
Well,
more
and
important, go ahead.
yeah, and that was very much what the show was about. The Good Place, in a very fun way. So I would imagine that it matches.
Yeah, well, my wife watched the show on and off, and she would say, "So in this episode, such and such happened," and I'd be like, "Yes," and I know why.
Yes.
It was cool because we could talk about the concepts of the show without me having ever seen it, because it was just, and I want to say basic things, but I don't mean it in a derogatory way. I mean, like, I locked myself in a room for 4 years and read all this stuff, and there's better ways to do it, and I would rather it enter the public consciousness through popular culture, so people think about it and talk about it.
Yep.
And the main reason is because I have a major essay that I'm going to be working on for August, I think, about shopping carts and about the should you leave or not leave the shopping cart. And I've been kind of an asshole about it around my family. And there's a chapter about it in this book. So my sister-in-law sent me a photo of the chapter, and then I sent her back a photo of like the 6 pages of research I've already done on the shopping cart. I don't want to spoil it, but I don't think it's immoral to leave the shopping carts where you want.
Yes.
And I'll explain that at length when I get my essay together. So all of that can be found at bagelmanifesto.com, and you can follow me socially on @byTonyRusso on all of the social media stuff.
Very good.
Ooh. Yeah, I didn't intend to speak that long, but as it turns out, that is how.
Well, you piqued my interest, and I'm a big fan of all of your stuff. Though reading is,
Well,
but I love an essay. Like
yeah.
That's something I can do.
Well,
I might pick up this book.
Yeah, well, pick up the audiobook. I don't know how often you get into audiobooks, but for people who don't particularly like to read to sit and go through, or who aren't comfortable sitting for long stretches of time worrying over words, there's nothing wrong with an audiobook. Well, the main reason I did the Bagel Manifesto podcast for as long as I did was because of people like you and my brother, who actually reached out to me, and he said, "I love that you do this, because I would never read one of your stupid essays, but I listened to it for 15 minutes in the car, and that's it was short. And like I said, I'm bringing it back in the fall. It's just not something that I'm going to be able to get my head around before we get to the fall.
Yeah.
Now, each week we also talk about one cool thing that happened to us because we live here or because we work here. And my one cool thing was that there was another Sherry Shriner episode that was on last night on the television. Not last night, but this week. It's not Discovery Plus or Discovery. It's on cable. It's called Devil in the Web. I haven't seen it. I'm sure it's fine. I didn't get a lot of kooks reaching out to me, or even normal people reaching out to me. 0 people have reached out to me, which means that the show wasn't as widely watched as the Vice TV one, which was barely watched at all. So I think I'm going to have to, keep working, because I'm not going to be able to buy a yacht with all of my book sales. So
One
if I
day,
told you,
one day, Tony.
if I told you that, they were based 2 television shows on your book, you'd say, wow, that book probably sells very well then. No, not at
Yeah.
all. Just that
What's the
go ahead.
What's the magic number of how many TV shows they have to do about your book before it finally
Well, I think it's a million.
takes off?
I think I'll sell one book for every show I'm on. So if I want to be a million seller, I'm
Yep.
going to have to get to a million shows. And I mean, with the way that they're throwing, just true crime at the television and people keep eating it up,
Yep.
I don't know. I don't know that I won't be on a million shows. So here's hoping.
Hope springs eternal, just as you said.
And that was my one cool thing. And I don't want to go much more into that because I'd like you to talk for a while so I could breathe.
Okay.
And also your one cool thing will bring us into the other section of the show. So what was your one cool thing this week, Todd?
Well, you mentioned earlier about balance, and one of the things that we were able to do this week, and if you're watching online, you can see a picture, a selfie that I posted of the sunset at the Indian River Inlet Bridge with a couple of dear friends. We did yoga at the beach club right there at the Indian River Inlet. And I've been doing yoga a lot since the beginning of the year. I really started doubling down, and Natalie and I go together. We've got our whole routine, morning time, wake up, boot up, get some coffee, go to a class. And it really has been great. And realizing and thinking about one cool thing that we get to do because we live down here is, obviously yoga, there's a lot of, there's the exercise portion of it. There's the community portion of it. And then, and there's the introspective and meditative part of it. And doing it while looking out over the ocean is, it probably happens every so often, but I have to remind myself how fortunate we are to just to be able to look at the ocean. A lot of people don't get to do that. A lot of people have to do that only once, in the
lifetime,
1 week when everybody else is doing it and it's air show, and you can't, there's so many factors that you can't control. And so definitely feeling a little bit of gratitude. And I think what is interesting in talking about balance is, yes, I have a podcast about drinking. I work at a lot of bars and restaurants and love to enjoy all of those things. But I think the balance and the yin to the yang is to do something like yoga. And it's you can't say enough good things about it. And I've heard there's a guy, Andrew Huberman, who's got a podcast, and he talks a lot about, he's a ophthalmologist and neuroscientist, and he does a lot of study and stuff like this. And he doesn't necessarily talk about yoga itself as being, important to, good mental health in general, and all of those things. But it's like movement, breathing, stretching, introspection, like all of, like, forget, the Eastern philosophy, but just all of the core, pillars of it. So much evidence shows how good it is for you. And I'm not here to get too woo woo, but it's, I don't know. I've found it very, very fulfilling. And again, to be able to look out over the ocean and be in a large space with, there were probably 100 people there. It's a lot of good energy too.
Can I ask where the beach club is, in what city?
So if you're looking at the picture, you can see the Indian River Inlet Bridge. The beach club is owned by the folks who have Big Chill Cantina up in Delaware. So this is like right at the mouth of the Indian River Inlet. It's on the south side. It's between Bethany and Dewey, for reference. And it's basically, I guess it's a public-private partnership. That's what it is, because it's like a state park, but then there is, a restaurant and this basically event space, which is a big all sides open garage type setup. The fine folks at Soulfire Collective, which is the yoga studio out of Rehoboth Beach, they put this on once or twice a year, and it sells out very quickly. It is quite a good, like I say, quite a good vibe.
Now, for our out of town listeners, if you come here from many, if not most points north, the Indian River Bridge is the yellow one. What baffled my mind about the Indian River Bridge the first time I saw it from being not on it was I was in like Long Neck, Delaware, doing a thing for a thing. And, back when I was a hitman. And I don't know why I was being vague about it. I was doing some bullshit, smoke up your ass story on a KOA or something out there. It was just more humiliating than secretive. But I just happened upon the water. I'm like, hey, that looks like that yellow bridge. And it's weird how close it is because it takes 2 hours to drive to. It takes an hour and a half to drive over.
Yeah.
And it's
from Long Neck, yes.
Yeah. and but you can see it from Long Neck. You could probably swim to it from Long Neck.
Yeah.
But to drive to it from Long Neck, it's interesting the way that whole area is kind of oriented north, south, east, west, because it does have this kind of wraparound feel because Delaware and New Jersey have that little circle that holds all the bridges and the water and the bays and the inlets. And I get it, but it's just weird.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, certainly I don't think it ever would have been planned that way if it wasn't for the natural topography. But, like there have been occasions where, an unfortunate accident or something like that, where the bridge has been shut down or a point between Bethany and Dewey has been shut down. And it will take, especially in the summer months, and especially if something is shut down, for you to get from one side to the other will add 2 hours to your trip.
Yeah, it's crazy. So
anyway. Hopefully if that does happen, you're on one of the sides that has a bar and restaurant, and then you can just go there and wait it out for 2-3 hours and maybe things clear.
Yeah, actually, that's happened to me before. And if you're not in the beginning of the traffic, you can't because everyone else does as well.
Yeah.
I know that, for instance, like right over the Bay Bridge, like if there's traffic, you're not going to get a seat at a bar. You may as well just drive home and start again in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my one cool thing is less cool than yours because it's me and I'm always an angry person when it comes to it. But I have a beautiful a photo here of a sunset on the Nanticoke? Not Nanticoke. What goes by Cambridge? Nanticoke.
Is it the Nanticoke?
I feel like it's not. I feel like I'm remembering the name of the river wrong.
Yeah.
But it's a bridge. It's a water. It's pretty. And what's always so off-putting to me about this is Cambridge is such a hard luck town, and I always feel weird, promoting it because it's cool and there's cool restaurants and there's plenty of stuff to do and there's bars and there's a brewery or two. I think there's probably 12 now. I've lost track of the breweries. But I was doing this actually for my beer book. This was one of the potential covers for the book that would become Eastern Shore Beer, which is still available.
And if you're looking at the picture, that's the Chop Tank.
The Chop Tank River. There you go. Thank you. Did you look it up or did you remember?
I did look it up.
Well, thank you. I guess I probably ought to have looked it up. But, Cambridge is always this kind of, it's such a cool place, but it's one of those places where if you're 3 steps off the cool part that gets marketed and tended to, you see that people are living really, really hard around there. And it's just, our race problem isn't going to go away. And I know we're trying like hell to pretend that it is. And, it's as long as there are places like Cambridge, we're going to have, the kind of weird racial relationships where, we're going to make money here, but I mean, think of it this way. I'm going to take a cheap shot at one of our favorite places, which is Rehoboth Beach. You know, no trouble getting busboys at the Cambridge restaurant because you can afford to live in one of the shitholes that's near
Right, right.
Cambridge. Whereas,
Yeah.
of course, they don't allow shitholes anywhere near Rehoboth, and they like to whine. We can't get any busboys to work for $4.25 an hour when it's $5 an hour to park, and you can't get a house for less than $14,000 a month within a 2.5-hour drive. So economics one side or the other, but it's so easy to fall into and worth falling into. Like you said, we've both got nice sunsetty things here, and it is pleasant, and it's like, I think of it like Christmas, like how. No, you don't, because you're a nice person. But there's always this aspect of Christmas. I think of the Kinks. The Kinks have a song called Father Christmas.
Yeah.
And one of the last lines of it, just remember the kids who got nothing while you're drinking down your wine. And that's what I think of, enjoy the view and enjoy the time that you can afford, but also, recognize that there's some privilege involved in that. It's not that God likes you better, and it's just something like, so some people look at a sunset and they're like, oh, that's God smiling on us. And I look at it and it's a reminder that God doesn't like me better. I'm luckier than the next guy and not as lucky as the guy in front of me.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
that's my picture nostalgia. I had such fun taking these photos, mostly because I didn't have to really take them. My wife Kelly took all the photos for the book. So this kind of sunset was on the agenda for the book cover, although she took a good version of it, which, I didn't take. This is crooked, and it's not as well put together as, like Todd has all of the things. Did you take that, or did Natalie take it? Or did
I took a selfie.
They're very cool. He has all the lines pointing to his head.
All right.
And which is it's a really well composed photo, but
yeah.
But that's our nostalgia section, our photo nostalgia section, which we're going to try to continue to do every week because I think people like it, and it gives us something that we can talk about. Something we won't do every week, but we'll do this week for sure, and possibly never again, is our word of the week. Because I heard the coolest thing this week, and I feel like I have to share it. Okay. And it's a Welsh word. And as you know, Welsh, or as you may not know, Welsh is if you don't grow up speaking Welsh, you don't ever speak it. It's not something you can learn like a normal language. It's mostly grunts and nasal exaltations and things like that. But they have a word for microwave. Recently, I heard on a podcast this week. Recently, France was revising their directives. They have like a department of the French language where they say what words are and what words are not French. And with the rise of this is true. And with the rise of esports, they're trying to get people to get away from using American words, and they're inventing French words that go with esports.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I don't know any French, and I don't know any gaming words. So this is probably a bad alley to walk down. But anyway, so they're changing the popular words. If you want to compete in esports, if you want to be a broadcaster, an esports broadcaster, holy fuck, we really do need a nuclear bomb at this point. But if you want to be an esports broadcaster, when I grow up, I want to be an esports broadcaster. I want to talk about people playing Madden. So anyway, and so as part of that conversation, they talked about other words, and I want to share with you the Welsh slang for microwave, because the Welsh word for microwave is micro, and then the Welsh word for wave, which is oho or something like that.
Okay.
But like, how you say nuke it?
Yeah.
They say throw it in the Popty ping.
The potty
Popty ping.
Popty ping.
Popty, capital Ping. Popty ping. And that is a word I'm going to try to get to catch on. I think that we should all be calling our microwaves Popty pings, because it sounds like you forgot what the word was.
Yeah. You know, that like you put the numbers in and it goes Popty ping.
I do that often. My wife's favorite example of this is once I told her to put it in the anti-refrigerator, by which I meant oven. So stuff like that. But so Popty ping is a word that's so much fun, and I think we ought to use more often. So I wanted to point that out for our word of the week.
I love it. You know, I was thinking about this. We didn't talk about it beforehand, and I'm not putting you on the spot. But one thing we had started was the answers to questions.
Yes, I have it right here. If you'd like one, we can do one right now. I realized also that I'd been forgetting about it because I didn't have the book on my desk. I cleaned, and now the book is right here on my quick reference shelf. But I would be happy to grab it.
Yeah.
And
if you want,
you can pick a number, and I can do a word. Pick a number.
Well, first we have to do the intro. This is my favorite part.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's not playing. There you go. Answers to questions with Tony Russo. That's a terrible song.
That's right. It's a terrible segment. It's a wonderful segment, but it's just some of the things in here. We've dodged our bullets so far. We'll see how much longer that can continue. So, if you're new to the show, I have a book called Answers to Questions by Frederick J. Haskin, and it is a book of factoids. Before the internet, people would write questions to the newspaper. The newspaper would give them to Frederick J. Haskin. He would research them. And he had a weekly column answering questions that people just sent him in at random. And so, Todd, I'm going to ask you to pick a number between 300 and 399.
Let's go with 354.
354.
And this book was published in what
year?
In the
20s. Oh, so the book was published in the 20s, 1926, I think. And as a result, some of the answers are a little haven't aged well. 354 is
Old Haskins, you devil.
354 is plants and flowers. And
very appropriate.
Yeah, and so this is a question. Are there roses that will grow in high altitudes? Answer. Swiss mountain roses are extremely hardy and thrive above elevations of 3,000 feet. An effort is being made to transplant them to the Rockies. Now, if I had prepared, we would know if they succeeded because that was 100 years ago.
Swiss mountain roses. Get your Swiss mountain roses.
So are Swiss mountain roses in the Rockies? If so, it's because of Frederick J. Haskins. I guess I should have picked I thought you were going to end up on presidents, which was the section I was going for. But we can make sure to limit it next time. I guess it's 358 to 400. I thought the whole section was presidents.
I was close. Close.
And we are running up against it. I do have one more thing that I want to ask you if you remember from your late childhood, early adulthood, because this week a photo taken from Voyager was making its rounds around social media. Do you remember the Voyager at all?
Maybe. When did it take off?
Oh, in like 1978 or something.
Okay,
like that.
Yeah.
Maybe 1972. But in the late 80s or the early 90s, it left the galaxy.
Oh.
Or the solar system. No, yeah, the solar system.
System.
It left our solar system. And it was in that weird time where there was no internet or anything. And you could call. There was a fee. It wasn't a 900 number, but you could call and get a message beamed back to you from outside of the solar system. And I remember getting permission from my mother to do this and calling, and it's like, "Hi, this is the Voyager. I probably should have written down because each message wasn't necessarily individual, but it was like, hi, this is the Voyager. We are currently X number of miles from Earth.
Huh.
We've left the solar system. We are currently, whatever, 1 billion miles from Earth or however far away the solar system ends. And I thought that was such a cool thing. I'm like, you should just do this so you can remember it. And I never thought about it at all. And then it was on social media last week. And I'm like, oh, shit, I remember I did that.
That's
And
funny.
It does kind of touch on the theme that we do bring up regularly, which is things that we've forgotten happened to us at all that were like serious, but now that we're getting older, they don't make themselves as present. So I remember calling the Voyager on the phone. It was like $2 or $3 or something. It wasn't like a 900 number. It was like there will be a $3 charge added to your phone bill. And I must have been 17 because I had to get permission from my mother because she's the one that got the phone bill. And I also didn't want to see a charge on the phone bill and wonder what numbers I was calling. So it was a weird kind of.
That was a weird time, just when calling numbers was a thing. Like you see those memes about like kids will never understand the anguish of calling up your crush and having to talk to their parents.
Right.
And then waiting on the phone, until they arrived at the phone, Yeah,
I don't miss it.
I don't talk to anybody. And now it's like,
that's
if somebody
way
calls
we don't make America great again.
Yeah.
That's okay. Go ahead. You can finish your thought.
I was going to say, and now it's like somebody, if they have the audacity to call you, and not just send a text, or to leave a voicemail, like you're going to make me go in and listen to a voicemail. No, don't do that.
Yeah. And there's a joke by Gary Goldman who he says something like, my phone is an app on my phone and I don't use it. And God help you if you make me use it. Text me first and I'll see when I can work you in.
Yep.
But we are up against it. I want to say happy brother to my brother Bobby. Happy birthday to my brother Bobby. 49 years young today. No, he's 49 years old. And that's it. I got nothing else. How about you?
I got nothing.
All right. Well, remember, until next time at the beach,
it's happy hour whenever you say it is.